This is going to be a good one. Welcome to the Curses and Kisses Booktube Talk! Hello everyone, welcome back to Stage Bookish. My name is Olivia and yes, you heard that right. This is my stop on the Booktube tour for the brand new book by Sandhya Menon of Curses and Kisses. I have it here, I don't know why I'm holding it up. This comes out very, very soon. I've been very blessed to be part of Sandhya's street team, the Sandhya Sweethearts. Big up to the rest of the crew. And when we were asked to kind of create and kind of, you know, talk about this amazing book, which I'll come on to in a second, I couldn't wait to start talking about it. Let me tell you a little about this. If you haven't heard of Sandhya Menon, I don't know how. If you know, from books like from When Dimple Met Marishi, from Twinkle with Love, there's something about Sweetie, of Curses and Kisses is now coming out. She's already scheduled for another book in the Dimpleverse later in the year, 10 Things I Hate About Pinky. How have you not heard of it? If you haven't, you are looking for some diverse, contemporary, romance, fluffy, hug of a book, you need to look this girl up. Okay, but that's all of Sandhya's collection, and this is her brand new book of Curses and Kisses. It is a contemporary retelling of Beauty and the Beast, set in an elite boarding school is probably the best description, St. Rosetta's International Academy, in the mountains. You are looking at Beauty and the Beast meets Gossip Girl. You're talking an Indian princess, a misanthropic, I've said that right, misanthropic British gentleman, long words, and it's immersive, it's glamorous, it's smoldering, it's kisses, it's romance, it's deception, it's and it's not long to wait now because this is actually out for public purchase next week, the 18th of February 2020. Okay, so I will tell you coming up on release day, so next week, just around release day, you will get my full review, my full thoughts, my full spoilery thoughts on this wonderful, wonderful book. It's a good one. Trust me, you're going to want to read this, but that's for next week. But for today, since this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and y'all know I love my retellings, I thought we would have a chat about what have been my favourite retellings, other than of Curses and Kisses, in the past few years. So let's get into it, shall we? Here we go. So starting off with my favourite retellings, it would be remiss of me not to mention, particularly as this is in celebration of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, to talk to you about what was one of my favourite books of 2019, another Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is good because it's like one of my all-time favourite Disney films. And that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This has been everywhere, and if you haven't heard of it, what the heck are you doing? Bridget Kemmerer, this was the first book I'd actually read of hers, but she is kind of well known for these extremely emotive, heart-wrenching, break you up and build your soul back, break you down and build your soul back up again kind of books. And as far as I'm aware, this was her first foray into YA fantasy, taking the story of Beauty and the Beast and setting it in a modern world. We have our main character Harper, who lives in Washington DC. She lives with her brother and they are struggling. They are living and trying to live by any means necessary to look after their extremely sick mother. One day when an incident occurs on the streets, Harper is whisked away by a stranger to the mysterious fantasy city of Emberfall. It is there she meets Prince Ren, and on goes this tumultuous relationship, which, if you know the story of Beauty and the Beast, I'm sure you can guess how it's going to end up. Not only, you know, Harper being having a disability, which is amazing and disability not being something that hinders her, it's just part of her that, you know, it's not a bad thing, which is amazing. You also have the addition of Ren's chief of his army, I guess, Commander Grey, who, for me, was one of the best characters in the entire book. And he plays a particularly important role in this. It is just so heartwarming, and I just loved seeing a story that I've adored since I was a child on paper. There is a sequel out to this at the moment that I'm yet to read, but it's called Heart So Fierce and Broken, so I'd highly recommend you pick that one up as well. But yes, this is my first retelling that I absolutely adore. My second retelling that I adore is something completely different and opposite to the loveliness of A Curse So Dark and Lonely. It is book one, also of a series, but it is a retelling of the classic Wizard of Oz story. But trust me, this is not The Wizard of Oz as you know it. What I'm talking about is Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. Now, when I picked this up the first time, I was like, yeah, it's not going to be too bad, Dorothy, you know, Dorothy Must Die. Oh yeah, it'll just be a really nice retelling. Oh my gosh, this is the most out there, bonkers, dark, crazy spin on a kind of classic tale that I've ever read in my entire life. It is just ridiculous, but God, you once you pick it up, you can't put it down. It is, like I said, it's part of an entire series of books, but essentially Dorothy has turned into, I don't think there's any spoilers, Dorothy, the original Dorothy, has turned into the Demon Queen of Oz and has kind of slave rule, dictatorship all over Oz. And this new main character is kind of the one who apparently is the chosen one and is going to bring her down. It's epic, it's gory, it's scary, it's brilliant, and I another one I actually can't recommend enough. Probably also talking of Wizard of Oz, we seem to have a theme. We've gone Beauty and the Beast, Wizard of Oz. The next retellings I want to talk to you about are actually a series of 3. And these were probably when I was first getting back into my YA reading swing of things. This is one of probably the first series that I really got invested in. It is, to me, a completely underrated and a completely underhyped series. And actually, I think the first book I don't think is even in print anymore, but my God, it should be, because it is so good. The author is Wendy Spinelli, and the books are the, what I refer to them as the Everland series. So it's a trilogy of books. You've got Everland, which is a retelling of Peter Pan. You've got Umberland, which is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. And you have got Ozland, which is a retelling of The Wizard of Oz. But what this is it's these classic stories with a steampunk twist. So, you know, there's robots, there's demons, there's the balloons, there's death, there's romance, there's action, and they are so compelling. And what I loved about them so much is that although they were so faithful to the original story, actually, they turned that original story so far on its head. If you didn't know the original story, you probably would have no idea. There were the nods here and there, but you would have no idea. And it was, you know, it wasn't just a carbon copy of original stories with any of these 3 books. Completely head-spinning brilliant. Honestly, if there is any way you can get a copy of any of these books, I think I literally I put Everland as 4 stars, Umberland as 5 stars, and I was like, Ozland is like, is there such a thing as a 6-star book? Because they are that good, they are that compelling. They are kind of cinematic, Children of Blood and Bone type prose, and I can't recommend them enough. Also the audiobooks, which again I don't think you can get the first audiobook anymore, which is an absolute travesty, but if you can look them up, I highly recommend you do, and I will gush about them with any of you. So please, if you've never read the Everland series by Wendy Spinelli, get in there, pick them up, and thank me later. The next one of my favourite retellings is one that really was an absolute warm hug of a book that I read for the first time last year, and that is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. It's so wonderful that she can take such a classic, what I would deem as a girly fairy tale, and turn it into something that's essentially a fan convention for a TV series. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, I just think it's genius. Ashley Poston, you know, is known as the kind of the more, you know, she's forayed into sci-fi, but she is most known for her contemporary. She actually, in this series, which I believe it's called Once Upon a Con, as in like Comic Con or Fan Con, she's taken Geekerella, which she turned into Cinderella. The next book in this series following the same cast of characters is The Princess and the Fangirl. Yeah, Princess and the Fangirl, which was Prince and the Pauper? I'll correct myself on that, I'll put it down below. And the third book, which is coming out in June, is called Bookish and the Beast. Another Beauty and the Beast retelling that I'm completely here for. But yes, Cinderella set at a Comic Con. It is as genius as it sounds, and I can't recommend you picking it up enough. Another one that is an absolute piece of genius is one of my favourite retellings of my favourite classic, and I've talked about it a lot lately, that is Pride by E.B. Zoboy. This is a remix on the classic Pride and Prejudice story by Jane Austen, where you had, you know, the clash of cultures, class of, you know, social class, gender roles, but it is very much that classic story modernized, set in Brooklyn, New York, but with still all of the nods there to the original stories. It is wonderful. Pride and Prejudice, it probably is currently my all-time favourite classic. I studied it at school, so it always has a special place in my heart, as do its many retellings. I never actually read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Tell me if you think I should read it. But this one is probably one of my favourite retellings, because E.B. Zauboy just does a most fabulous job with it, and I love all the characters in it very much. And my final favourite retelling to tell you about is actually an anthology, and I really was fascinated by this coming out, I believe it came out for Halloween last year, 2019. But not only is this a retelling, this actually also complements retellings with the original text. I'm talking about His Hideous Heart, which was edited by Dahlia Adler, and this was an anthology of retellings of the stories of Edgar Allan Poe. Now that sold me on it. I was absolutely completely convinced on it based on that. But when I was then told that in the first half of the book you had the retellings, and in the second half of the book you actually had the original tales that they were based on, I thought, what a genius idea. That is brilliant, because people then can compare the retellings, they can open their eyes to this brand new, absolutely iconic author. And it's just so wonderful to kind of have that kind of treatment for these classic authors, even in kind of modern day times. And I just thought it was a genius idea. Another one I had the audiobook for, and I've started listening to, and that is proper, you know, stormy night, candle burning, curled up with a blanket in bed kind of reading, and it's just absolutely genius. So there you have it. They are some of my favourite retellings of the past few years, told to you in celebration of the release of Curses and Kisses by Sandhya Menon, that comes out on the 18th of February 2020. If you want to place a pre-order for this, or if you want watching this when it's actually already come out, and you want to get your hands on a copy of this book, I will leave all the buying information down below in the description, as well as a little bit more about the plot that might tease you, get you a little bit even more interested. Sandhya, you are a darling. I am so pleased for you, and I'm wishing you all the success with this book. I can't wait to continue to work and scream about it with you. Like I said, next week you will get my full spoilery gushing review of this amazing book. But until then, my name has been Olivia. This has been Stagey Bookish on the Of Curses and Kisses blog tour. I will see you awesome folks next time. Bye.